Cincinnati
Mm-hmm.
at Performing Arts.
Yup.
This is a little kid at Performing Arts.
Little 9-year-old skinny girl at Performing Arts.
And then you fight your way all the way to New York and finally get on Broadway. Just not Broadway, the Color Park.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do after that? Welcome to Deep Dive Dialogues, where the conversations are never as they appear on the surface and things go deep.
Oh my God.
So I would like to welcome you, Miss Renee Brown, dancing, actor, innovator, creator, all the things that you've done that we'll talk about during this interview. And most of all, my cousin.
That's right.
But being that you've been on Broadway, that you've been on the acting scene, you hustled out of New York, those are all the things that I want us to talk about today so people can understand the journey and especially compared to the way things were then and how they are now.
That's crazy.
And very different. So welcome and thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
This impressive thing that I would say about knowing you, besides for your awesome personality, is the accomplishments that you've had as a dancer. So the title of this video is going to be The Hustle to Broadway. But I want you to start off in your own words and just tell me how you got there. Like just starting off with the dance part. Like what was your dancing career like? What inspired you to dance? How did you get started? And then we can build up to how that led you to Broadway.
I would say because I auditioned for like performing arts school in Cincinnati. And at that time we went from 4th to 12th grade. And it was like a magnet school for performing arts. You had to audition to get into that program.
Okay.
And depending on how old you were, you didn't have to bring like a portfolio or whatever.
So you started off at Performing Arts here in Cincinnati
At 9 years old.
Okay.
Yep. So I got into that program, started training in dance. And by the time I was 12, and that's the year you go on point, I realized I'm pretty good at this. And I think I can do this for a living. And then in the summers, I got a scholarship to Cleveland School of Ballet and Dance Theater of Harlem. And then dance led to a scholarship at college and it led to Ohio State, full ride.
So you started off at Performing Arts and then after that, you ended up getting a scholarship at Ohio State for dance?
For dance.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was for dance.
Okay. So what type of dance did you do at Ohio State?
Ohio State, modern dance.
Okay.
Yep. Modern contemporary dance. And the one thing with Ohio State, you are going to learn how to choreograph dance composition, the art of creating dances. You're going to learn that. He'll learn anything else. In fact, like some famous choreographers have come out of that program. And so I went to Ohio State and was immersed in contemporary modern dance forms, which was a beautiful thing because being a Black woman, there was a limit how high you could go being a Black woman in ballet.
Okay.
Especially if you looked like you were Black when the lights hit you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to Ohio State and then I learned about all these different modern dance companies and whatnot, and like Alvin Ailey and beautiful, talented, technically diverse dancers, but in the modern dance world, they were still killing it and they were allowed to eat. Like they looked like human beings with bodies and viable muscle count, and they were eating. And the stories were about real people, not fairies and stuff that didn't exist. Like real people with real struggles.
Right.
People on a chain gang or a religious couple and did the wife cheat on the man and they're a minister and his wife.
Right.
Or just like regular couples living life. Right. Situation. Where my story was being told again and again and again and again.
Right.
Whereas in the ballet world, number one, it was a lot of, based on like European fairy tales. So that was also a problem.
So okay, educate me. Let me stop you there. So ballet is based on European fairy tales. Like how does that? So the stories about ballet. How does that work when it comes to the storytelling in dance?
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? Like when someone develops a story that they want to be told through dance, how do they convey that to the dancers? And then like, what does that look like for you as the dancer?
Well, it depends on, I mean, number one, dance is like an old storytelling tool. It's ancient. You gotta remember that. So, you know, people used to they would dance out to hunt. You know, we'll go way back prehistoric. We would dance out to hunt. So, I mean, you can use movement to tell a story. If I'm representing a group of people and you're representing a group of people, if we had a battle, we're going to do a dance and we're going to show the battle, you know, or I can represent the bull. You can represent the hunter, you know, kind of situation. It just depends on what you represent. We can represent people. We can represent countries, places, or ideas.
Okay. So as a creator, when you're making a dance routine or choreographing something, do you have a story in your head that you're representing? Do you think about it from start to finish?
I do. It depends on, because I've choreographed a lot of different ballets. It depends on what story I'm telling.
Okay.
Depends on what story I'm telling. Like, I've taken parts of so we know the Nutcracker is old ballet. Every ballet company in the world does it every Christmas.
Okay.
And it's an old German story. And it has been remade a million times, and so it depends on what I'm doing. So with that particular thing, I want to do Duke Ellington's version of the Nutcracker when he did his own suite. So it's a jazzier version, which makes it a more American version. And because I'm black, a blacker version. But I want to take that idea, and I know Donald Byrd, the choreographer, he did his version of the Harlem Nutcracker. I said, well, I'm going to do my version of the Harlem Nutcracker, and I'm going to set it in Harlem, not in some German, I don't know about the people. And I'm going to take the ideas of these different branches, and I'm going to use Duke Ellington, this black man's jazzy perspective of this music, and then I'm going to bring characters that relate to the dynamics of America. So,
okay, so the way that dance translates to storytelling is the concept, theme, or symbols are translated through movement in order to evoke sentiments and emotions.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I gathered from everything you said.
That was it, you know?
All right. So, okay. So that does answer my question on how dance relates to storytelling. So back on track with your journey through, to the hustle to Broadway. So you start off in performing arts, then you get a scholarship to Ohio State. At what point does the Dayton dance team
come into Dayton Contemporary Dance Company?
Dayton Contemporary Dance Company.
So my wonder twin, Gary Harris.
What do you call it?
I call him my wonder twin.
Your wonder twin?
Yes.
Okay.
I call him my wonder twin because he's long and lean like me. We were both dancers at Ohio State, and we both partnered very well together. Like, that's why we went to Dayton and dance. You know, we were partnered a lot, because our bodies in space made very beautiful pictures.
I love that.
Cool.
So what was the Dayton dance team?
The Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. I hate that you say teams. It's not.
Okay. Okay, thinking the Dayton.
Can you lessons it?
Okay. The Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. Okay, thanks for correcting.
So it's all good. It was like Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater.
Okay.
So it's just a smaller version in Dayton, started by Geraldine Blunden Diggs.
Okay.
And several of her kids, young people that started in her company went on to dance for Ailey. Then when I got in Dayton, I got as an apprentice, right?
Okay.
Which is some bull.
Wait, hold on. Break that down for me. An apprentice doing what?
Dancing.
Okay. Well, wait. So you leave college and then you become an apprentice.
Then I become an apprentice. So the contract is not as much. So the apprentice, you don't have to pay as much as a full company member.
Okay.
But I'm in here. You paying me $123 a week. That's what they were paying me.
Okay.
That's a quarter of a piece of land. Okay. I got to eat and pay my rent. So I live with my wonder twin, and we had another roommate. So with three of us, now this is dating.
Okay.
It's not hot.
In dating.
Okay. It's three of us living in an apartment, catch the bus. Ain't nobody got a car. And my wonder twin is up in the mix. He gets a full company member, but I want to dance. I want to dance. And I'm on scholarship at Ohio State, but I want to dance. So I was like, I dropped out of school with a year left. I dropped out.
Okay.
And went to Dayton to be an apprentice. But I'm dancing.
Do you regret it?
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. And I'm dancing as much as everybody else who's on full contract, right? But I'm not getting paid as much as them. And the choreographers come in the set pieces. I keep getting cast and everything, but I'm not getting paid as much as these people who are not dancing.
Okay, so let me say this. I'm so happy that we're discussing this because a lot of things have changed on the dance scene, the acting scene, the performing scene. But I would say that still is a thing that has not. The fact of either being a woman, being a minority, or just being an underdog in general and not getting paid the same or equal. Even to this day, it's a challenge as a woman to advocate for yourself. So I definitely say I feel you on that. When you know that you're talented, you even gone through the training, the schools, your talent has been verified. But then still fighting to get the same opportunities, not even performance-wise, just pay-wise.
Exactly.
And so I definitely could say that even though it isn't the same, I can identify with that.
It's hurtful.
It is hurtful, especially when you know the people, right?
Exactly. And you're working, sweating. And I'm like, I was working and sweating and just, to me, it was about dance. I wasn't even thinking about anything else. And 6 months into it, they gave me a raise. When I think about it later, I was like, oh, they probably thought I was going to quit. So they gave me full company member status. And I was like, that's great. And we toured. We went to Russia. We went to France. We went to Germany. We went to Bermuda and crisscross the United States. As before, like the National Foundation for the Arts said, no more money because of money. So we left up and got the money before then. And it was all well and good. But the whole time I was with Dayton, it was like, they refused to put me in certain points. They refused to cast me in certain things. Like they would have me do Rainbow, but only for like, education crowd. They never let me do it in a concert. So when they recast it, now Rainbow Around My Shoulder is a historic piece by Alvin Ailey. It's about black men on a chain gang.
Okay.
And while they're on this chain gang, different men have flashbacks and remember their mother. They remember their lover. They remember their wife. When they recast it, they cast my friend Sean, who said, they should have given me this 10 years ago. So that was a red flag. Like, what? You original Vespers. They made you wait. And then the white girl. And I said, oh, whoa, I need to go. These black men are not dreaming, wishing, hoping for a white woman, their mother, their lover, their partner. So this whole thing, wow, y'all lost. I'm out. And that's when I was like, I'm out. I'm going back to Ohio State, get my degree, and I'm passing to New York.
So what would you say were some tactics that you used to overcome not being treated equally or not getting paid what you were owed, especially for the talent that you were offering? Like, what were tactics that you used to persevere and overcome situations where that happened?
Well, like in Dayton, or just
in general as an artist, when you had to face circumstances where you're not being treated fairly, whether it be performance wise or pay wise, what would you say helped you overcome moments like that?
Well, I would say what helped me overcome number one, knowing the people that came before me and what they had to do and how hard they had to work and what they achieved despite the BS.
Okay.
That kept me going, whether it was real life or artistic life. Now look at other artists who stood up and made a way and who were raked over the coals, from Sam Cooke to Billie Holiday, for just telling their truth, to other people who were telling us, from Muhammad Ali. We've always had to tell our truth. They've always raked us, Eartha Kitt. They've always raked us over the coals for telling the truth and standing in our truth. So I'm going to stand in my truth and I'm going to do what I need to do to keep it moving. And I'm going to tell the truth. And there were people who hated me. I was on jobs when people were coming for me. And I'm going to do my job. I'm not going to get fired. I'm going to do my job.
You start your dance career off at performing arts. You go to Dayton. You leave. You get a scholarship to Ohio State. You leave Ohio State to go to Dayton. You have experiences there where you face some adversity with being treated equal in pay and stuff. So you go back to Ohio State.
I go back to Ohio State. So finally, they gave me the money and whatnot, but the drama, I was like, I need to go to New York. So let me finish my started. So I went back to Ohio State, had to get a loan because they're like, girl, you had a scholarship, but you left. Oh. So that last year I was like, my mom was like, you better get a scholarship because like they said, you had a scholarship. You had a scholarship. You learned. My mom was like, can I help you, girl? I was like, okay. Bet. So I got a scholarship. I got a loan. I got a government loan. Went back. Finished up. Got that last little technique got that, not even so much church, just got them last math classes I had to get that degree. Got that degree, pressed, went to, worked at a summer camp, made some money.
What's your degree in?
My degree in is dance composition and dance choreography. Dance choreography and dance performance.
Dance choreography and dance performance?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So, did I really need a college degree for that? No. No, I didn't.
Hey,
but it's nice to have it.
Because I don't know anybody who has that. Plus, the first person I met that has a degree in
Shut up.
dance choreography. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if I'm going to ask somebody to teach you how to dance, I would choose.
Thank you very much. So then, I go to New York, but then it's like, once I go to New York, I only had $2,000 in my pocket. I was staying with my mom's boss's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to charge me $300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, just write some checks out. I remember he was like, you got to get a bank account. First bank account, Chase Manhattan. Them fees as high as Methuselah, honey. Now I'm more like a credit union girl, but so, I got my bank account, whatever, got my little checks, wrote my little checks, and I kept them blank. And he said, just let me know when I need to cash them. Now, granted, this man owns his own, graphic design company. Does he need the money? No, he does not. But it's the, thing. We made an agreement. So I said, okay. So years go by, and number one, I ended up getting my own spot with my friends. And so the normal New York dynamic became my reality, where you have 3 other roommates besides yourself. So it's 4 of us in an apartment, that situation. When I say I went from apartment to apartment, it wasn't even funny. It took me years before I could live by myself.
Okay, so we're talking about when you left college after you got your degree and went to New York.
Yes.
And so this is on your journey to making it in acting and dancing in New York. Okay. And so you start off with these multiple jobs.
So many jobs. When I say so many jobs, I was hustling in New York. I had a degree in my pocket, $2,000, but I didn't have a gig. Okay. I'm trying to get to Broadway. When I say I waited tables. I was a part-time nanny.
Okay. Too. You work these different jobs.
All this while dancing.
Uh-huh.
All this while taking classes. If you don't maintain your technique, you ain't gonna get a job.
So how does that work because you're doing professional, modern, these different types of dances? How did that training look once you got to New York? Did you find a studio immediately? Did you have groups that were suggested to you after you got out of college? How did you find your dance scene once you got to New York?
Once I got to New York, I found out, because my friend from college was going there, to my friend Angelica, subsequently, years later, ended up in Lion King. We found out about word on the street, talking to
word of mouth.
Word of mouth. So at first, I was in the downtown dance scene because I came from Ohio State, and the downtown dance scene was more postmodern, and I was taking classes at dance space. The good thing is, because I came from contemporary dance, when it came time to, number one, we had to do crazy stuff in character shoes. I'm talking crazy stuff. Like Tally Baby, walking triple turns. I'm talking jumps in heels. I'm talking layouts. I'm talking, so we had to dance. All you had to do is that touch. Or maybe a top step. All right, please. We had to do a top step and layout and span and throw, please. I was like, this ain't nothing, bring it.
But hold on, you said you had to do crazy stuff in character shoes?
Character shoes.
What is that?
So a character shoe is a shoe that has a heel of either 1 to 3 inches.
Okay.
And it's what when girls are dancing on stage, you're dancing in a character shoe. It could be a Laduca, it could be a Capizio. It could be a T-strap.
Are those the ballet shoes?
No, they're character shoes.
Okay.
So ballet shoes are flat.
Okay.
And they're leather or canvas, and you can roll through them. Character shoes are a heel with a hard sole. Unless you buy a specific show with Laduca, you can get the ones where they cut so that you can point more. You can have a higher heel, but you got to dance in heels. Musical theater, for the most part, you're dancing in a heel. So you have to get your heels, but you have to have your own for auditions. But when you get a show, they give you the heels. But you better have your heels, and some girls afford the Laduca. Some people can afford the Capizio. A Laduca is way more expensive, but the shoes are better made. They're Italian. They're better made. And the girls with Laducas, either their parents had money or they already had shows and they had money.
After you get to New York and you're doing these different classes and whatnot, the different jobs as a nanny, cleaning toilets to survive and to pay for your classes and to upkeep your career, what happens next in order for you to get to Broadway?
Well, to get to Broadway, you have to have your equity card, number one. You have to belong to the union, the Actors Equity Association.
I did not know that. So in order to get to Broadway, you have to belong to the Actors Equity
Association.
Okay.
AEA.
Okay.
So you have to belong to that, or if you book that show, you instantly in it. You got to pay the money, and you're instantly a member of that union.
Okay. How did you get into the Actors Equity Union?
How I got to Actors, number one, let's remember I had a college degree there, like, so I came from a viable dance company. They're like, and
okay,
they were like, did not care. How I got in? By the grace of God.
I love that.
Diane McIntyre, who graduated from Ohio State, who is one of the greatest black female choreographers on the planet, had come to Dayton and set pieces and knew me from Dayton and from Ohio State. She needed an assistant for something. She was auditioning for this play. She written this play called Stop on a Dime, Get 10 Cents Change. And what was it called? Stop on a Dime and Get 10 Cents Change.
Okay.
And it was about her mother and father. She wanted to write a piece so that everyone could understand that Black people are just like white people. They worked hard. They were in the war. They raised their families, etc.
Correct.
So I was her assistant while she was looking for, and it was that particular play had 4 men and 3 women. And she was looking for different people, and I was helping her run the auditions. And so basically, she was looking for this one particular role that was more of a dancer than anybody else, and she couldn't find anybody. And I was like, she's like, you want to leave New York? And the bubble in my head was, I would love my equity card. Got that gig. She said, can you sing? I was like, yes. I did not sing professionally, but I was like, yes.
So I love that, because you hear about military people or maybe pastors and even like blue collar workers doing stuff like that. But it's different when you hear creatives say like, okay, yeah, I had the talent, but it wasn't just the talent. Like I had to figure out how to get through certain doors. You know, you have
to get in there.
Yeah, you have opportunities that are opened up. I bet a lot of people don't know what you're saying right now, because I had no idea that there's a card. Would you say it was called an equity card?
Yeah, an equity card.
An equity card that you have to even be considered.
Yeah.
For Broadway, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then all the things that you had to do to maintain your stay, to even be in that environment, to even be seen.
Yeah.
You know? And so like that takes an insane amount of determination and strategic thinking, and then also just you know, an ability to take advantage of those opportunities when you have them, you know? And essentially you're creating them too.
True.
I mean, some of it is a blessing, but you also positioned yourself to create some of those opportunities.
So,
you know?
And do what you have to
do to stay in position.
Exactly. And
Like
you got to get humble. Come on, like Chad. You know, I couldn't be like, I'm not going to clean this toilet. I need these classes.
Yep.
Thank you for letting me clean this toilet.
Yep. Well, two, I think it's being able to see the opportunity even in challenging situations. Even in challenging situations. To be able to say, like, I feel like that's the main difference between a positive and a negative mindset. It's if you're dealing with a negative situation, what opportunity can still come out of this depending on how I look at it.
Yeah.
And so for you, you're like, well, I can't do these things, but I see that the equity card could come out of this. So I'm gonna walk through this door. And I love that, because the other people who probably didn't raise their hand to take that opportunity, they probably could not see what you saw in the moment. So that level of visionary, you know.
But it's also like that humility too. Some people just weren't going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the people who wouldn't do it didn't want it as bad though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think you're right. Cause New York is the fish of New York when I was there, the monster of New York when I was there, the survival of New York. It's worse than it was when I was there. Cause it's way more expensive.
Right.
And when I was there, we were all hustling. We all were educated. We all had degrees in our pocket. We were all broke as Methuselah. We felt like we were rich as millionaires, because we were like 4 of us. We lived in Washington Heights or Harlem.
Those times make you feel the richest, because that's why they say like, when it comes to like what brings you value, worth, or what success and happiness means to different people. I've seen certain times in my life where I'm like, it's not that I was happier when I had less. it's the energy that was around.
Oh, that's it.
So after you get your equity card, how do you get your gig on Broadway, or your gig, I would say your job on Broadway?
The auditions begin. Once you got the equity card, then you go sign up for everything that's going on. So I was like, now I can eat. So now I got to try to get a gig. So you go to as many auditions as you can in a week and hoping to book something. And you get the equity. Just because you're in equity doesn't mean you have insurance. Now you're in your union, which means now you can go audition.
Okay.
For interview.
So that just gives you the opportunity to audition and interview.
Exactly. That's all it gives you.
Is that just for Broadway, or is that for anything in Hollywood too?
Hollywood is not equity. Okay. It's different. That's SAG.
Okay.
That's like the high echelon. Everybody trying to get that union.
What's that?
That's another union. But what's Screen Actors Guild?
I've never heard of it. Renee, you're educating us right now. Okay.
Screen Actors Guild is SAG. And you start to see it when you watch TV and what you'll see at the end, you'll see SAG, Astra.
So that's when you know that you're an official actor, when you're in one of these unions. By doing these different commercials and stuff like that, you have the opportunity to get a SAG card.
Yeah.
Okay.
And SAG, Screen Actors Guild, that's a lot of money. You got to have a SAG card if you want to do a movie. Every movie star has a SAG card.
I learned something new today. I did not know.
Yep.
That. Okay. So you get your equity card.
Yep. And now you can interview.
Okay. So
we call it auditions, but now you can interview.
Okay. So what was your first Broadway show?
My first on Broadway?
Yeah.
It was All Shook Up. That was my musical. I did an Elvis musical.
No, what was it called?
All Shook Up. All Shook Up. All Shook Up. All Shook Up.
So the first one wasn't The Color Purple?
No, the first one that I did was a Elvis Presley musical called All Shook Up.
Okay, what was your role?
I was in the ensemble and I understudied Lorraine.
Okay, so what does that mean, to understudy?
That means there's a lead.
Okay.
And if she gets sick, you go on. It got me a lot of roles.
Yeah.
Was a time, the thing with understudies, it depends on the person who owns it. They own it. So they, roll through it a certain way. And when I would go on, well, I have my own way of bringing it, because every role you take, a part of that role is in you, right? And your life experiences inform that character. So when I'm playing whatever that role is, my life experiences are going to form that character. So the way I translate it and then process it and give it to you, maybe you had the other chick forever and a day. Well, I am that character, but I've interpreted that character different. The lines are the same, but the way I'm telling them my intent is different. Oh. So then you're going to have to respond differently to me. You're going to have to be more active in this scene now.
Yeah.
You can't be on automatic pilot because you don't really know what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
You have to take off yourself to put someone else on. Now that person that you have is still there. If you're already a famous person, you cannot let that fame interfere with the fame of the character that you're portraying.
Ah. So that is a very interesting point, because
some people can never act again. Because
after they do one scene, or after they do one role?
Some people...
What do you mean they can never act again?
Some people...
Like they become so famous from that role that they...
so famous in their other life, in their regular life, that they can never act because they can't separate the character they created in their regular life where they make the bulk of their money. And now you want to become somebody that someone else created. You didn't create this person. Someone else created it. But you want to embody it. It's a lot. You have to be really good at it. They can't let go of their persona.
Who they are as a person.
Yeah. Or as what they have created for the world to believe as an artist.
Oh.
And then try to embody
something else.
Someone else's creation. Which is that character. Some people can't do it.
How did you get on The Color Purple?
The Color Purple was a hard one because all those years, number one, let's remember that The Color Purple is choreographed by Donald Byrd, who is a Donald Byrd. Okay, Donald Byrd. So Donald Byrd is one of the foremost innovative contemporary choreographers, postmodern choreographers alive, black men. Choreographed it like contemporary dance. So it had been years and years and years since I had done contemporary dance. So now my brain is conditioned on more of that musical theater. I could not pick up the combination. I've been stymied the first time in my life that I've ever been stymied. My feelings were hurt. I hurt my own feelings.
How?
Because I could not pick up the combination.
For
the first time audition for The Color Purple. I could not pick up the combination.
And so what did you do?
I got cut.
So the first time you auditioned for The Color Purple, you got cut.
I got cut because I couldn't remember the combination. I couldn't pick it up. I could not remember the sequence of movement.
So what'd you do?
I did what I could remember, and then life went on, honey. I had to work. So I've got other gigs because I gotten boop, the booty boot with that one. I gotten boop.
So that was
That was over.
so that was a time where you had to deal with rejection.
I dealt with rejection so many times. It was not even funny.
Yeah, but that one hurt.
That one hurt because it was a black show.
Okay.
And because it was The Color Purple and because it was contemporary dance, I couldn't pick it up.
So how did you recover from that? How did you recover from that?
I went and got hot. Try to get over it. And then I said, bitch, you need to go back downtown. So I went downtown, started taking some more dance classes, contemporary dance classes to get my mind right. Continued to audition because I had to work. So I booked some gigs, did some gigs, and continued to take class, take my voice lessons, went to see The Color Purple. And then when that came around the next time, I was right next to the demonstrator. I was ready. I was like, all right, girl, what is it? I am not going to get messed up this time. I was like, what is it? I was right next to her like, yep. Got.
How long between when you got cut, when you went back to work, and then when you got the call back?
So when I got cut, then where I finally go to that callback and everybody and their mama is up in that joint for California people I didn't know and other contemporary dancers that I did not know. And I was like, what the hell is this about? They wanted us to dance in couples with a boy, with a dude. They wanted to see how we could dance with a dude. So then I ran into my friend Chris, who I danced with the Metropolitan Opera some years before we had gone to Japan and done the Met. He's short though. He's like, oh, no, we can be partners. And I was like, we cannot be this joke because I have to get this job. And I'm sorry. I said, well, I can't do it with you. And then another friend that I had done West Side Story with my friend Marion. He was getting to her. I was like, Marion. So I grabbed my friend Marion. We were the same height. Only black man, Marion. So we were the same height. And I was like, we're going to kill it. And he was like, okay. So we looked in. He said, okay, that's what you do. And I was like, all right. So I had on my shorts, like contemporary, like just a black t-shirt. He was okay, make sure your shorts don't leave it short. And I was like, all right. He was like, yeah, okay, we got it. I was like, bet. We danced right next to his table, basically. And luckily, all like the big hits were on my good leg. And Dollar Bird stuff was very sexual, very sexual, because they were like some like grinding in it. Child, he said, we're going to hit it hard. And I said, okay. Child, we were like, leg, bop, bop, bam, bam, bop, bop, turn, slam, bam. They were like, ooh, yes, we got that gig.
Cincinnati. At Performing Arts.
Yep.
This is a little kid at Performing Arts.
Little 9-year-old skinny girl
at Performing Arts. And then you fight your way all the way to New York and finally get on Broadway. Just not Broadway, The Color Purple. What do you do after that?
I toured with The Color Purple for almost 2 years.
Okay.
But it was a good challenge. You know, it was a good challenge. I learned a lot about myself. Met some nice people. Made some nice friends. You know, learned a lot about myself. It was nice of my mom that I could come and have that experience. And yeah, I learned a lot about myself and about how I would treat people. You know, I think you can get a lot of love by just being respectful. You know, and keeping your ego in check. Like dancers are like athletes.
Okay.
They have to eat. They have to train. It has to be consistent, and they have to eat a certain way. It is not easy. It is not fun all the time. There's a skill set. Yes, it becomes fun. Yes, it is fun. Performing is fun.
Right.
But just like with any other sport, when you try to get to the next level of the sport, is that fun? No, it's not.
Right.
Doing those drills again and again and again, that's your bar.
Right.
You have to do the bar your whole life.
Yeah.
Those same exercises, just like in any other sport, to maintain that just to maintain that cutting edge.
The story that you told embodies so much more than just the path to acting. It
was a path to education.
A path to education, but a path of perseverance,
That's
determination, hard work ethic, because those are qualities that sometimes like you said, people just want to brush to the side. But when you're pursuing anything in life,
Truth.
those are qualities that are needed. So I think the story that you told embodies all of that.
That's true. I mean, you have to be disciplined no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent no matter what you're doing. You have to be patient
No matter what you're doing.
no matter what you're doing if you want to persevere.
Yep. I've enjoyed hearing about your journey, your hustle. And even as my cousin, knowing you all these years, there's so many things that I did not know about you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's especially because you've been out in New York dancing or in all these other places that we both have been, you know, across the country traveling to. So it's good to be able to talk to you in this format and to share with others, because I know a lot of people who do acting, dancing, or aspiring to be that, or even the generations that are coming up that have to know the story of the previous generations and what y'all had to go through in the 90s up until now, right?
No joke.
So they can appreciate and respect it, right? And then whether it's in acting, whether it's in relationships, you may not be somebody's cup of tea, but you could be somebody else's.
That's right.
And so
Live for every pot.
So I like the fact that in your story, the perseverance is represented by perpetually having to deal with rejection.
Yeah.
But when I asked what you did, you said, well, I did this. And then afterwards, I went back and got stronger, better, wiser, and then still continue.
You learn and grow.
Exactly.
And you pay it forward.
And I think that's what matters. So I enjoy hearing that story. So on Deep Dive Dialogues, we always end with asking you for a personal quote. Just a quote that you want to give to viewers. It doesn't have to be long.
Okay. A quote that I want to give for viewers.
From you.
From me.
A saying.
But see, I curse. So I'm going to try to be good.
Yeah. For the kids watching, Renee.
Well, the adults will know what I'm saying. Forget fear.
Forget fear. I love that. You heard it here first from Renee Brown. Forget fear.
Because fear is a hindrance. It will keep you shackled and chained. You will never travel. You'll never grow. You'll never inspire anyone. You'll never aspire to the next level. Fear is a chain. Fear is a prison. Forget fear.
I love that. Well, you heard it here first. And I thank you, Renee, for coming to talk to me on Deep Dive Dialogues. And we look forward to seeing some dance classes in the future.